Hello, and welcome to the Church Revitalization Podcast, brought to you by the Malfers Group team, where each week we tackle important, actionable topics to help churches thrive. And now, here's your hosts, Scott Ball and AJ Matthew.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 69 of the Church Revitalization Podcast. Glad to be with you again, and as of this recording, it's Christmas week, Scott.
That's right. Yeah, we don't know when you're listening to this, and if you're watching the video version of this podcast, we got a little bit of red and green going on today.
I tried to be Christmassy. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I did too.
Christmas today together.
Yeah. So that's just for all of you special video podcast watchers. You get a little extra Christmas.
You can see. Yeah, if you're listening, you got the old YouTubes over there. We're on the YouTubes, and you can Google us over there at the Malfers Group and find all of our episodes.
Please don't say YouTubes ever again. That'd be great. But the good news is, if you're listening to this and it's not Christmas time, the topic is still really relevant. And our topic today, AJ, is the best presents. Now, again, you see what I did there? A little bit of play on word.
Play on word. Doesn't play well on the audio, but yeah.
No, the best presents. And the idea here is how you can win at home. And I say this, I wrote this article, actually wrote this a number of years ago and have updated it for the purpose of this podcast. And I come at this as a person who has lived this and has experience in this and has failed at this at more than once in my life. This idea of winning at ministry, but failing at home, the most important ministry. And so we really wanted to give some practical, that's sort of the pitch of this podcast, is that we would be giving you practical and actionable advice for leadership. And that doesn't just mean in the church, but it means being a leader at home and winning at home. And we want to help you do that by giving you 4 highly practical, maybe surprising tips about how to have both better quality and quantity time at home. I think before we hop into this, AJ, I just want to say that's another one of the myths. I think that, quantity time is better or quality time is better. I think the answer is yes, both.
Right.
And if you've been in ministry any length of time, you know that there are seasons where it's different. You have seasons where it's quantity time and you have seasons where it's quality time. What these tips are about, AJ, is about how to maximize that time, whether it's a lot or a little. And so, yeah, I'm excited about this. I think it's a necessary topic for people like me who are driven to want to succeed and have aspirations for things. And it's very easy to put family in a corner of your mind or at a corner of your ministry so that you can focus on, what feels like wins. Does that make sense? Am I being too vulnerable in saying that?
No, not at all. Yeah. It is. I think it's a great topic. I mean, this topic would play well outside the church space. I mean, men and women, career-driven people, and not even that. I mean, you just get sucked into work. Well, look, we spend how much? Like a third of our life sleeping, a third of our life at work. And then the other, split hours of that last third sprinkled in and out with our family. So this is something I think that applies to just nearly all humans that have employment. So
yeah, that's true. I think men especially oftentimes can tend to be really driven and want to succeed at things. And I think that we go, oh, well, that's just business people. Business people are like that, but ministry people are that way too. And it's not just guys at mega churches, it's guys in small churches too. Whatever it is that you value and say, I'm going to hang my hat on this ministry accomplishment, it can consume your attention. And it can consume your time and it can eat away at your family. And if you've been in ministry any length of time, you know this. Your family has suffered to some degree because of the demands of ministry. The pastor's kid stereotypes are there for a reason, because it does happen. These kinds of things happen. So anyways, we just want to focus this Christmas season on helping you to become the best present in developing your best presence. So with that said, maybe we can hop straight into our 4 practical tips.
Let's do it. And the first one I love, Scott, and you wrote hug your family, not more, but longer. Long
Yeah.
hugs with the family.
Yes. And I know some of you are maybe already wanting to just tune this and be like, that is so goofy. Let me tell you, there is scientific evidence, scientific studies have been done on this, that longer hugs, hugs of 20 seconds or longer, release oxytocin in your body. And so it actually decreases aggressiveness in males. So if you actually find yourself in a position where you are chasing, like you're chasing a big project, you're chasing a big goal. And again, I say this from personal experience. Like this is me. This is a challenge that I have. If I'm really aggressively chasing a goal, it makes me aggressive even when I'm not working. Does that make sense, AJ? Like, when I'm done working for the day and then I'm sitting down for dinner, or we're supposed to be doing something fun, and I'm still in aggressive mode because I've been attacking whatever that project is and I want to get it done or whatever. Yeah. So when you actually hug your family longer, hug your kids, hug your wife for 20 seconds or more, that releases oxytocin in your body, and that actually decreases aggressiveness in your body. So there's an actual physiological thing happening there. So yeah, if you want to have better time with your family, you should actually hug them longer, because it resets your mood.
It truly does. And I've got to tell a quick story about my father-in-law, because whenever I read this, Scott, the person that came to mind is my wife's dad. Shout out to Dave Peterson. And because we've been married 20 years. When I first met my father-in-law, when I first met Dave, I got the biggest, tightest, longest hug I ever had in my life. And he's known for it in the family. You just know Dad's going to give you a very intentional hug. But I love it. Everybody does, I know my wife, was kind of like, get ready for my dad's hug. It's going to be intense. And so we might even joke about it, but I guarantee there's nobody that doesn't like getting a hug from David Peterson. And because it is, you can't just hold on to somebody tight and for 20 seconds and not have a little bit of release. Like, I'm in this hug for the long haul. There's no point in holding on to the stuff in my life right now. So
my daughter she's 5, almost 6. In our house, in our family of 4, she's the biggest hugger. I tell you what, if she comes up and gives you a hug for 20 seconds, it's much more difficult to be angry or after that. Those little arms get around you for 20 seconds.
Yep. So there you go, man. That's, if you don't take anything else away, go with the hug.
Scott's I want to emphasize, this is not that's not a cheesy tip. Like, there is an actual physiological thing that happens, a chemical in your body, hormone in your body, that is triggered when you do this. So don't just write it off like, oh yeah, that's just a stupid tip from a podcast. Like, that's a legit way for you to have better time with your family.
Yep. There you go. So our next one on here, Scott, is to make fun a priority. And this could be hard for some people too. You and I love to have fun, and we laugh a lot in working with each other. And some people aren't wired that way as much as maybe you and I might be. So you have to be more intentional about that. And I remember I wrote a blog a long time ago about make yes your default. And, like when the kids are just wanting to do something and maybe you're just tunnel vision in work mode, and it would be just easy to say no, without even really thinking about it. I think this goes along with this. If you can try to make yes your default, then making fun a priority can get you out of that workspace and focused in on something a little bit lighter, and especially with the people you love.
Yeah, so not to bring up the Enneagram again. I think this is now a few times.
We have to go there with this. So go ahead.
Okay.
What's your number?
I'm a 7, wing 8, which means I like to have fun a lot, and try new things, explore new things. But 8 is more dominant, or if you're thinking of disc, it's like it's like an I and a D on the disc. Okay. Um, but when in an unhealthy place, like when you're not in a good space emotionally, 7s become just like 1s, and 1s are very intense. It's like very perfectionistic, like it has to be a certain way. And in fact, even when it comes to fun, like we have to do fun my way, the way that I think things are fun. And if everyone's not on the board, I mean, it's a little bit like Clark Griswold, you know, like he's there for the fun, right? And then when everything is starting to fall apart, he's like, "We're gonna have the happiest Christmas!" Like, right? Like, it's like everyone has to have fun, or else, that can 100% be me. Like, if I'm wanting us there to be something fun, and then if things are, kids are crying, or we're arguing about something, then I'm like, "We're here to have fun. Come on," and so that doesn't work either, AJ. And so I think that you really have to be intentional about this and make fun a priority. And regardless of what your personality type is, where you are on the disc or the Enneagram, you have to make room for this and prioritize it. Because these moments aren't forever. These moments with your kids, like my kids are 5 and 8, and my daughter's about to turn 6 really soon. Like, my son's going to be 10 before I know it, and then in middle school and high school, I mean, it's going to be over.
Yeah.
And not every day or everything has to be fun all the time, but when you're with your family, you have to make making memories a priority. Because you get one shot at it. And who cares? Like, you got to be responsible, I guess. I want to be really clear about that. You can't just like spend money frivolously. But
yeah, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't cost a lot of money.
There's a lot of things that doesn't cost a lot of money. But if there's a memory you want to make with your family, make that memory with your family.
Yeah.
Because you're not guaranteed tomorrow anyway. You can save up you can squirrel away all your nuts, for when you're 65 and get hit by a truck when you're 45, and there's memories you didn't make because you were trying to be. So, like, I'm just saying everything's a balance. I'm not saying don't be smart. I'm not saying don't invest, don't save. I'm not saying that. But do prioritize making fun in the middle of that, because if squirreling away all your nuts for a rainy day keeps you from making any memories with your family,
yeah,
I don't know that's worth it.
Yeah,
you got to find that balance.
And a good way of doing that is the next one that you've got down here, and that's dethrone busyness. So a lot of times, we think we can't take a little time to go have some fun because we've got so much going on, so much. And if you get intentional in your calendar and really look at how your time is being spent, you probably have got more time than you think you do. And this is hard for a lot of us. I mean, even for me, it's Christmas week. It's pretty darn quiet. I mean, honestly, there's not a lot of churches that are looking for help from an outside organization the week of Christmas. And so but it would still be easy for me to sit here at this desk and reply to emails, or, sit here, waiting, monitoring, are there any chat requests on the website? People need anything? And probably not. And I can get those on my phone anyway. And so, leaving this space and doing something with my family, which we're going to do today, go take a walk out in the woods. So, we're
recording this podcast, getting this done today, and then
that's true. Here we are recording the podcast. Hey, I hope this is helpful.
No, but I mean, we're doing this.
Not our normal work week, though.
Yeah, no, it's not a normal work week. We're getting this done. When I started in ministry, and I don't know if there's any guys or gals listening to this that can relate, but when I first started in ministry, there were people that I wanted to meet with because I wanted to get their advice on something, or I wanted to, not necessarily be mentored by them in a recurring sense, but just to meet with, to get some information from, to learn from, that kind of thing. So, offer to take them to coffee or whatever. and there'd be people that it would be just almost impossible to get on their calendar. I mean, not that they wouldn't meet with me. I'm not shooting for the stars. Like, I'm not trying to meet with like John Maxwell when I'm, 19 years old or something like that. Like, I'm just trying to meet with people that I'm within their orbit, and they're so busy. Their calendars were so full that it was going to be 3 months till they could meet with me. And I looked up at that, AJ, and thought, wow, they are really important. Like, if they're so important that they've not got 20 minutes, a cup of coffee with a young leader, that's like, I thought that would mean if I'm so busy I don't have time for people, I must be important.
Yeah, that was aspirational. Yeah.
It was aspirational. Yeah, it absolutely was. Yeah, like, oh, if only to be so busy, right?
Yeah.
In the decades now into ministry, I'm looking at that and going, no, it's a sign of dysfunction. If you've got not that you should make space in your day for every Tom, Dick, or Harry who wants to grab a cup of coffee with you. I'm not suggesting that. But if you kind of wear that full schedule as a badge of honor, AJ, I and a lot of guys in ministry do, that is not a sign of importance.
Yeah.
It's a sign of dysfunction.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. That badge could actually be a bulletproof vest that you've put on with your calendar to deflect things and keep others away from you. So
keep your family away from you.
Yeah. Check your heart.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's move on. Okay. So the last one, Scott, going to be a challenge, maybe around the holiday season is a time of fun and food. And you've got down here, eat good food. So, a knock on the Christmas cookies?
No, actually, far from it. Okay. I think I wrote this in the article itself, but I think probably the technically correct thing to say would be eat healthy food. And I didn't say that. I said eat good food, because I think you should eat healthy food, but unless it tastes like cardboard, in which case that's terrible advice, don't eat it. I think you should eat good food, and you should eat it well. I tell the story in the article. I spent a summer in France when I was in college, and every meal was an event. Every dinner, I should say, not every meal, but every dinner, every night dinner was an event. And it didn't mean like the food was not necessarily especially extravagant. It very often was not. But it was always served over multiple courses, right? So like we always had soup. There was a soup course was first. And then you would have the entree and then salad, which I know is weird. Then cheese, and then dessert was sort of the order of things, the sequence of things. And so dinner always took a long time. And I can remember sometimes, because we weren't allowed to speak English at all until dessert was served at dinner. So even through dinner, you had to speak French until you got to dessert, and then you could speak English for the rest of the night. But even though like it wasn't until dessert that we got to speak English, that process, that drawn out process of dinner, AJ, it just unwound you.
Yeah.
And we just don't do this. It's not an American thing. I don't even do this well. This is not something I practice well, or as well as I'd like to in my own life. So this is advice, probably of all these, this is the advice that I point back to myself right now and say, eat good food well. Eat food you like. I'm not saying eat like a slot, eat bad food, unhealthy food. I'm just saying eat food like that you enjoy, and enjoy it, and eat it with your family and have good conversation. So I think that's something that we actually do decently at the holidays. But the reason why we look at those so fondly, AJ, is because it's one of the only times in the United States where we actually have a meal like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And take the rest of the year, we're like, slam it down and go, So I don't know. This is, I think, very important advice. Some of the most meaningful moments you'll have will be around a table with food.
Yeah. So I just noticed a common thread between all four of these, Scott. They all have they're all endorsing an extended period of time in
Hmm.
healthy things. Longer hugs, longer periods of time having fun, longer periods of time away from busyness and with intentional and the ones that you love, and longer period of time enjoying a meal also. So this really is all about changing your priorities and changing your priorities into a focus on your family and the people that you love the most and that are closest to you and want to have you with them more. So, man, this is a great list, Scott, and I think this is a great time of year to do this, especially. There'll be now a lot of our audience. If anybody's listening this week, after Friday, after Christmas, um, you know, there's always another Sunday, but this whole build up to Christmas, you can let down at least maybe mentally for a few minutes and
Yeah, I want to make
try
that.
to
I want to make
refocus
that
on the
point.
family.
Yeah, I want to make that point one more time. I said at the beginning, but there are seasons to ministry, and I think that if you've been in ministry long enough, you know this, and it takes time, I think, to learn how to navigate that or negotiate it. But there are seasons when you're going to have a bunch of quantity time, which doesn't necessarily mean it's any good because you can be around each other and kind of ignore each other at the same time. And then you have seasons where things are legitimately busy and you can't move things around. Um, and so the time that you have with your family is really limited, but that time can be good or bad too. And so I think that you can win at work, in ministry, and you can win at home, but you've got to be intentional about the home bit. Otherwise, it won't happen by default just because you're around each other, a certain number of hours. You have to make it quality, whether it's a lot or a little.
Yeah.
Um, and and that makes it better. I mean, I'd say, AJ, we have these seasons too. Our ministry is different than in church staff ministry, but we'll have seasons where I've had seasons this fall where I had like 3 or 4 weekends in a row that I was traveling, working with churches, and so my time with family was limited. And I think sometimes I did okay at maximizing that time, and other times I didn't do it as well as I should in maximizing that time. But I wouldn't I wouldn't get bent out of shape about, well, I had this many meetings, or this season was really tough. You need to make the time you have with your family as good as it can be. That's what I want you to remember.
That's the
About
takeaway.
this. Yeah.
Good advice. Scott, it's a great article this week. You can read Scott's article at malfersgroup.com/69, the same number of today's episode. And we're glad that you were with us. Thanks for making it to the end. What we want you to do now is turn off your device and go spend some quality time with the ones that you love. We're so glad that you put in the effort every day, every week, week after week. We love you for it. Thanks for your ministry, and thanks for listening. We'll see you again next week. Merry Christmas.
See ya.